Brock Lesnar is no stranger to a little bit of controversy, as we're sure you've garnered from the mixed reaction online to his return at WWE SummerSlam 2025 recently. Despite being one of the biggest draws in WWE in the past few decades, who helped carry the company for close to a decade total, and is definitely one of the biggest names to transcend out of pro wrestling into another sport, the Beast Incarnate has gotten himself into trouble over the years. Sometimes this trouble occurred while he was in WWE, and sometimes outside of it. Brock Lesnar is never far from the headlines. So join us at Sportskeeda Wrestling as we take a look back at the dark history of Brock Lesnar. While you're here, hit the subscribe button, hit that like button as well. Click the little bell icon to be notified first when we drop our latest videos and help us in our climb to 200,000 subscribers. Thank you in advance. Now let's get into it. Brock Lesnar was already a national wrestling champion when he joined WWE and was getting into some trouble while training to make it to the main roster of WWE in Ohio Valley Wrestling in Louisville, Kentucky in 2001. He got arrested. The local authorities had brought a young Lesnar in on suspicion of illegal PED possession, performance-enhancing drugs. However, Brock was found innocent as authorities deemed the substance to be illegal, dropping all charges and letting Brock go. The next big thing, as he would be dubbed around this time, was trouble-free from there on for a while, breaking huge into WWE's main roster and global TV alongside Paul Heyman in 2002, dominating both Raw and SmackDown, quickly becoming the youngest WWE champion of all time and getting wins over huge names like Hulk Hogan and The Rock. He main evented WrestleMania 19 alongside Kurt Angle in a very underrated match. He was the biggest breakout star of the early 2000s for WWE, by far. It went exceedingly well for him for a few years, until 2004, when Brock decided that he had enough. His body was taking the toll, and he was abusing himself in the rigors of the road that WWE demanded. His last match with the company when he decided to leave at that point was at WrestleMania 20 against Goldberg, a dream match on paper in Madison Square Garden, and you also had Goldberg deciding to leave WWE around this time with frustration. The thing is, though, the fans all knew about it. This pesky thing was popping up around the time called the internet, and they were aware of it and booed the two men out of the building, cheering when special guest referee Stone Cold Steve Austin gave both men stunners when it was all over. Brock sought to find success, though, in another lane: professional football, joining the Minnesota Vikings practice squad in 2004. His NFL stint was short-lived. He never made the main roster of the Vikings, despite appearing in a preseason game for them. He was cut from the team before the actual season started. Despite apparently being offered a spot in NFL Europa, Brock chose instead to leave the sport of NFL and return to professional wrestling. The Beast decided to take his talents to New Japan Pro Wrestling in 2005 following his NFL departure, but he'd have to deal with another match inside of a courtroom. Lesnar had a ridiculously long no-compete clause with WWE when he left them, which apparently affected him in some way for a very long time. And when he appeared in New Japan Pro Wrestling, a wrestling promotion that isn't WWE began warning him, reportedly, with legal action. Lesnar, not to be beaten or intimidated, challenged the claims put forward by Vince McMahon's company, who tried to stop him from competing in the Japanese promotion on a number of occasions. However, Lesnar won his legal fight and was able to continue appearing for New Japan, despite WWE's best efforts to stop him. And in 2006, both sides decided to reach a settlement, and eventually the case was dismissed. Stepping away from wrestling in 2007, Lesnar started taking MMA fights and soon found himself signed to the UFC. Mixed martial arts was quickly gaining popularity, and Lesnar was now a huge crossover star for the sport from WWE in the early 2010s. Contributing to the UFC doing some of its biggest pay-per-view numbers of all time. Once again, he was a massive draw. But it wasn't long before he ran into controversy yet again, with a legendary crash out on Frank Mir following their fight with Lesnar defeating Mir via TKO. He gave the crowd the finger and said some questionable things and called out Bud Light, who was a sponsor of the event and the fight. The UFC apparently were not happy with this, given Lesnar's star power and influence, so Brock decided to issue an apology pretty quickly, where he fully endorsed Bud Light. And he definitely wasn't told to do that. Not at all. You can't prove it. It's a quality beer. Lesnar even secured a reign as the UFC World Heavyweight Champion before retiring from mixed martial arts altogether due to ongoing issues with diverticulitis, which really, in the eyes of some, held back his career, though he successfully defended the belt twice. This wouldn't be the last time we'd see him in MMA, but let's not get too ahead of ourselves here. Brock would return in a massive way to WWE in 2012. I was there in Miami the night he came out. It was a huge pop. But he would run into some issues with the Great White North, Canada. Oh, Canada. Yeah, based on some hunting misdemeanors from 2010. Lesnar's legal representation pleaded guilty, though they maintain that the man himself was unaware that any laws were being broken, which seems believable given how much Brock loves Canada. He's a big hunter. Yeah, he gets into that stuff. You want to tell me there isn't going to be a Brock Lesnar hunting TV show? I'll watch that. Him just chasing stuff? That aside, Lesnar made his return in a big way in WWE, confronting John Cena. I know I'd seen that SummerSlam ending somewhere before and had a great big match, at Extreme Rules 2012 before taking on Triple H, and a feud that saw the two men locked horns at both SummerSlam and WrestleMania. Then in 2014, Lesnar took things to the next level when he ended The Undertaker's historic 21-0 WrestleMania winning streak at WrestleMania 30 in New Orleans, and one of the most shocking moments of all time, as one of the WWE's most beloved pieces of lore had been F5'd into dust. Shocked Undertaker guy still describes the world's reactions perfectly to this day. Arguably one of the biggest attractions in WrestleMania history, the Undertaker's streak was crushed by the Beast Incarnate. There are still many wrestling fans who claim it should have never ended, so to see it end at the hands of Brock Lesnar was quite devastating. But then again, if any man was believable going into that type of decision to end the streak, it's a man who had been a UFC World Heavyweight Champion just a few years earlier. Yeah, that's a decent bet when you pull away from it, guys, without just the wrestling goggles on. Brock Lesnar also destroyed John Cena at SummerSlam 2014, ragdolling Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 31 in the main event, and gave an F5 or a suplex or two to pretty much every big name in WWE's roster. While still with WWE, stepping away from his WWE duties for a brief time in 2016, Lesnar faced yet more controversy when he made an unprecedented comeback to MMA and the UFC, taking on Mark Hunt at the landmark UFC 200 pay-per-view event, granting a one-time only exception by WWE to do so. Lesnar defeated Hunt, but the win was tainted and overturned to a no contest after the Beast Incarnate tested positive for banned substances. Lesnar was issued a fine and a suspension and ultimately never fought for the UFC again, but he did have a confrontation with UFC legend, one-time WWE special guest referee Daniel Cormier in the Octagon, which didn't really go anywhere but made for some good TV. In the latter part of the 2010s, Brock Lesnar became a notorious part-time champion for WWE. A rare appearance by him meant a big deal, but fans grew frustrated with his on and off appearance schedule. He was always in the Universal Championship picture, keeping the title off TV for months at a time when he had it. He feuded with the likes of Goldberg, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns during this time, and he had some fantastic matches with Finn Balor and Daniel Bryan. The Roman Reigns feud in particular continued on and off for years, well into the 2020s. Countless main events between the two taking place at shows like SummerSlam and WrestleMania. Brock even drove a tractor down to the ring at one of them. Watching that live in Nashville, I immediately knew he was going to do something with that tractor, like, I don't know, try and tip over the entire ring with it. Everybody really used to like that moment, but now they're all ex-tractor fans. Get it? Ex-tractor fan. Yeah, I'll stop. It's terrible. Entering the 2020s, Brock was feuding with the likes of Drew McIntyre, rising up the WWE ranks for the WWE Championship, losing the title to him in just a few minutes at that closed-door WrestleMania during lockdown. Brock even had a match with the 7-foot Omos, of all people, at WrestleMania 39, which was actually his last match with WWE at the time of this writing. He also had some outstanding work as well with Cody Rhodes, but despite all of his success, eventually controversy would once again find the Beast Incarnate, as he would be implicated and named in the ongoing legal situation between Vince McMahon and a former employee, which you are likely aware of if you're watching this video. This likely contributed to his absence from WWE between 2023 and 2025. Despite the allegations, Lesnar is not facing any legal scrutiny involving the Vince McMahon case, and he's not being investigated for everything. He was simply alleged to be involved. It's also worth noting he's not charged with anything in the case. WWE legal officials, according to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, cleared Lesnar and believe his innocence at this time while the case is still ongoing, bringing him back in 2025 at SummerSlam to a massive response, both online and around the world. Over 75 million views of that footage on social media. Yet, even more controversy would follow with the conversation of whether or not this was the right thing to do. So what could this mean for Lesnar's immediate future? Well, it seems like we're going to get Brock versus Cena one last time before Cena retires at the end of this calendar year. Or maybe Brock will retire Cena himself. That would be, interesting. It's going to be a huge deal either way, given the controversy surrounding Brock and the hype surrounding Cena's retirement run. The latest giant money printing main event and a long list of them still to come from WWE. And so concludes our look back at the challenging controversies of Brock Lesnar's past and his professional sports career. Sometimes these issues are very legitimate, sometimes not so much, but one thing is for sure, drama seems to follow Brock Lesnar wherever he chooses to suplex someone. And I guess that goes with being the Beast Incarnate. Pat McAfee once called him the alpha male of our species. Paul Heyman used to call him the conqueror, but lately we've come to know Brock Lesnar as one of the most divisive men in all of the WWE. Even though his career highlights speak for themselves, he has a Hall of Fame resume, Brock Lesnar will always have his detractors, some of whom have been very justified in their takes. Despite WWE's legal clarity on working with Lesnar, only time will tell if this is a huge risk or if it's something that will simply fade away into the past. Here comes the pain. And that's it for another video. What did you think about Brock Lesnar's return to WWE? Did he retire too soon? Is it something you wish was cleared up before you just had him surprise pop up on TV? I know a lot of people have some different opinions about it. Are there matches and moments that you remember fondly from Brock Lesnar's past? What's the big Brock Lesnar match you want to see right now in WWE? And don't forget to enable those notifications as well. Hit the like button, jump into the comments, let us know what you think, and dive deeper into our back catalog of videos that get into all these topics just like this. You like wrestling? That's our thing. We do wrestling videos.